So this is not about having a stronger will or becoming strong in our own power, but rather becoming more surrendered. I really honestly believe about the transformation that God does in us. It's getting to the place that we are admitting our lack and admitting our weakness. So if you were to ask yourself today, what is giving you the most frustration in your life? What is the thing that's actually, causing the most havoc within your circumstances? And most likely, it's going to be the area that you have not surrendered to God. The very thing that's giving you the most frustration is usually the thing that we ourselves are still trying to control, that we're not giving up to the Lord. There's nothing more difficult than trying to control something that we have no control over. And so transformation, to be transformed, is this journey of learning to surrender our lives to God. And to be honest with you, it takes way more courage. It takes much more courage to admit our weaknesses than to say that we have it all together. It takes much more courage to actually say, I cannot do this. I cannot do my life. I cannot make these decisions. I can't say yes to God. I can't follow God. I mean, it takes God to follow God. And I believe that it actually takes more courage to admit our weaknesses and that we need God in every area of our life, instead of putting on this appearance like we have it all together. It's almost sometimes like, especially in the church, where we have everything backwards, because we think this is about getting better and having more and all of that. But this is actually about getting more surrendered and becoming more surrendered to Christ. And the enemy will always fight that. I mean, just a huge part of God transforming us is the enemy will always tell us things that we're never going to change. Life is always going to be the way that it is right now. I'm always going to be addicted to this. I'm always going to struggle with this. This is always going to be a part of who I am. My family was like this. Therefore, I'm going to be like this. I'm never going to get out. I mean, that's really how the enemy, that's really devil 101, if you really want to think of it like that. So I've just found when the enemy's haunting me, it's because God's at work in me. And personally, I've just found when it's the hardest times for me, those are the times that I have to be even more intentional to pressing into God. The times that I don't feel like I want to press into God, and the times that I actually don't feel like surrendering for God to transform me in different areas, are the very moments when I have to turn and be even more intentional in my surrender. Because otherwise the enemy, will use it against me or against you, so to speak. So to be transformed, this is not about surviving. This is not about just making it. It's about being formed. It's about becoming more like Christ. One of my favorite Psalms is found in Psalm chapter 1. It talks about, the promise of when we plant ourselves, and we can't grow unless we're planted. We bloom when we're planted. But there's this picture of like when we make the decision to actually go deep and allow God to do a deep work in us. In Psalm 1, it talks about all the promises that God gives to us, that when the storms come and, that we'll be able to stand, and all the different things that we're going to go through, that God is with us and he's working. He's doing a deep work within us. One of my favorite Psalms. But one of the promises there that we often miss in Psalm chapter 1 is that it talks about that one of the things that God gives to us when we allow God to do a deep work in us is that we begin to prosper. And I think the word prosper is taken out of context so much in the church now, because it's almost, like a bad word. And lots of times people will think, well, prosper means that I have more money, or prosper means that I, have lots of relationships, or everything is going perfect in my life. But one of the translations of the word prosper literally means to show experience. So everything that God is taking us through, the thing is that to choose to be planted, God sees this as none of it's a waste. So this journey in saying yes to God is that everything that we're going through, God's like saying, don't waste what you're going through. Like, don't waste your pain.